President Zelensky meets with Prime Minister Keir Starmer in Armenia ahead of a summit of European leaders tomorrow. Sir Keir Starmer and Ukraine's President Zelensky have held a bilateral meeting in Armenia ahead of a summit of European leaders. 48 heads of state from across Europe and from Canada are due to attend the wider European summit on Monday, which aims to strengthen security and stability across Europe. Speaking earlier at the start of the two leaders' discussion, President Zelensky thanked Sir Keir for the UK's sanctions against Russia and efforts to counter its shadow fleet, saying the measures set a great example for other allies.
So we stand with you. We're ready to do the necessary work tomorrow with the bigger group on the support you need, the pressure we need to continue to put on Russia to make sure that we get a just and lasting peace, but one that is right for Ukraine. So I'm very glad to have this opportunity to talk to you again. Thank you.
Dear Prime Minister, thank you for your real support from the very beginning till now, and such strong support from all your nation, your country. We are very thankful, and thanks to your sanctions policy.
Yeah.
You give example and gave example, great example to other countries on shadow fleet, and I think this is so important now.
The meeting of the two leaders comes as Ukraine says it struck two Russian shadow fleet tankers. The Ukrainian Presidential Press Service shared video of the alleged attack online. President Zelensky says the ships were struck at the entrance of the port of Novorossiysk off Russia's Black Sea coast. And Ukrainian officials say up to 10 people have been killed in Russian attacks on Ukraine this weekend. Casualties were reported in regions including Kherson, Odessa and Sumy. Ukraine's military said Russia had attacked with a ballistic missile and 268 drones overnight into Sunday, although it added that most had been intercepted or shot down. Well, former British ambassador to Ukraine, Lee Turner, explained how the Iran war has impacted the war in Ukraine.
It's a strange situation, Lauren, that the Iran war has had a massive impact on the war in Ukraine. And one of the ways it's done that is by increasing oil prices. We've seen oil prices almost double from around $60 to $70 a barrel up to between $100 and $126 a barrel. And Russia is a big oil exporter. So this means billions of extra dollars are flowing into Moscow's bank accounts to fuel its war against Ukraine. Now, in response to that, Ukraine has been attacking Russian oil infrastructure with extraordinary success to stop Moscow cashing in. They've been attacking up in the north in the Baltic Sea. They've been attacking in the south, places like Novorossiysk that you just mentioned. And they've been attacking on the Russian mainland as far east as Perm, which is about 2,000 kilometers from Ukraine. So all sorts of attacks. And the goal is to stop Moscow from benefiting from the increased oil prices caused by the war with Iran.
In the past, though, Ukraine has criticised Russia for hitting what it's described as kind of civilian infrastructure. Do you think they've decided that as Russia is doing it, they have to do it as well?
Well, Russia certainly has been bombarding civilian infrastructure ceaselessly for the last 4 years. And there has been this tension between the US and Ukraine about whether or not Ukraine should bombard oil facilities in Russia, because what Donald Trump fears, amongst other things, is increasing fuel prices in the US, which might erode his popularity with his voters. His promise to bring down prices, now because of the war in Iran, oil prices are going up. And if Ukraine throttles Russian oil exports, that will push up prices higher. So there is a kind of tension between those two goals of not having oil prices go up too high and stopping Russia from cashing in on its oil exports. Yes, it's a very difficult balancing act.
And we've seen the meeting between President Zelensky and Sir Keir Starmer. What do you think they'll be hoping to achieve in that meeting, and also the broader European meeting that they're having tomorrow?
Well, we've seen this, you've just played the clip there, the gratitude that Zelensky has consistently portrayed for the support of the UK in the war against Russia. And the UK has been very consistent in this ever since 2014, actually, and particularly since 2022 in supporting Ukraine. So it's good that that axis is there. And now what is going on in Armenia, where they're meeting, is a meeting of something called the European Political Community, which is a a massive group of European countries. There's about 47 of them, plus Canada is also at this meeting, making 48. And they are basically discussing how can we support Ukraine if the US isn't doing it? Because since President Trump came to office in January 2025, he has been consistently very tough on Ukraine, cutting off military and economic aid, and very much inclined to give Russia a good deal on any possible peace settlement. And the Europeans have been trying to see how can we keep Ukraine in this fight without US support. And that's what they'll be discussing, I'm sure, in Armenia tomorrow. And it's really important to all of us, Lauren, in the UK as well as in Europe, that we can continue to support Ukraine, because if Russia wins this war, it'll be pretty catastrophic for our security.
And this is all in the context, of course, of that move that was announced yesterday of the US pulling 5,000 troops out of Germany.
Yes, I mean, that'll be music to Vladimir Putin's ears. The idea of having US troops in Germany, where they've been stationed since the Second World War, of course, is to make it more difficult for Russia, as it now is, to invade Europe. And you may think that's extremely unlikely. And it is basically, it would be absolutely balmy for Russia to do that. But at the same time, we have consistently seen a very aggressive military posture from Moscow ever since really Vladimir Putin took over as president back at the turn of the century. And really, I think President Trump probably is trying to show his frustration with the Germans not supporting the war against Iran. And in particular, I think the German Chancellor Merz said something about the US being humiliated in Iran, and that's got Trump's back up, and he's trying to do something mean to Germany by withdrawing these troops. But of course, he's shooting himself in the foot by doing it, because it's making the political and security situation in Europe more dangerous, and that in turn, of course, endangers US security. Those troops aren't there out of charity. They're there because they are keeping the US as well as Europe safe.